You're listening to old Western stories, where dust settles slow, guns speak loud, and every tale rides straight into your imagination. Hit that subscribe and saddle up, the ride's just startin'. A drifter and a preacher's daughter start asking questions a whole town would kill to keep buried. Dust rode in with the last light, coat wet from the road and eyes dull from miles. The sign over the livery lane crooked, the wind pushing Dust down Main like it meant to sweep the place clean but couldn't find the strength. He dismounted slow, boots sinking in the dirt, saddle creaking like an old confession. The air smelled of rain that never came and something else under it, iron, earth, decay. A bell tolled somewhere, too late for the hour. He turned toward the sound and saw it. A church whitewashed clean, paint catching the last gold of the sunset, graveyard behind it fenced in with split rail and shadow. He tied off his horse, took his shovel from the saddle roll, a habit, not a job, and walked up the hill. Wind combed the dry grass, whispering like voices that didn't rest right. Clara Reeves stood near the gate with a lantern, the light swinging soft against her skirts. Her hair caught firelight from the glass, her face calm but wary. She saw him coming, straightened a little. "Evening," she said. "You're late for service." "Didn't plan on attending," Dust said. His voice had the rasp of long roads and too few lies told. "Just passing through." "Nobody passes through this town," she said, almost to herself. The bell rang once more, dull and hollow. He nodded toward the graves. "You bury a lot of folks lately." Her hand tightened on the lantern handle. "Why ask? Ground looks too soft," he said. "Fresh turned, not one headstone less than a month old." "It was a hard season," she said. "Fever, accidents, miners, all at once." She looked away. Best not to dwell. The wind rose, pulling her dress against her legs. He noticed her eyes then, gray like ash but alive. "You the preacher's girl, Clara Reeves. Your pa know you keep watch over the dead. He says it's good for the soul." "Whose soul?" She didn't answer. Behind her, the church door creaked open, spilling lamplight and a man's voice. "Clara." The Reverend Reeves stepped out slow, black coat neat, Bible tucked under one arm. His voice carried the weight of kindness that didn't bend. "Evening, stranger." Dust tipped his hat. "Evening, Reverend. You new in town?" "Passing through," Dust said. "Just admirin' the graves. A somber hobby. A man's got to read what history he can." Reeves smiled without warmth. "History's best left where it lies." Dust shrugged. "Depends who buried it." The Reverend's eyes held steady. "We take care of our own here. Wouldn't want rumor digging up what rest we've earned. Wouldn't dream of it." Reeves stepped closer to his daughter, hand resting light on her shoulder. "Clara, it's late. Say your good night." She obeyed, voice soft. "Good night, Mr. Dust'll do." "Good night, Mr. Dust." Reeves nodded once firm. "God keep you, traveler. Then let him send you on your way." They turned toward the church. Dust watched them go, the girl glancing back once, lantern glow fading with her steps. He stayed a while longer, listening to the wind. It carried no hymns, only the low moan of old ground shifting under new names. By full dark, he'd stabled his horse and taken a room above the saloon. The floorboards talked in every gust, and the piano downstairs dragged slow through a hymn-turned whiskey tune. He sat by the window, watching the church hill glow faint under the moon. Something about that place itched in his bones. Too many graves, too few stories. He'd seen it before, towns built fast on gold or guilt, covering what they had to with dirt and prayer. When the clock struck 10, thunder rumbled out over the plains. He rose, grabbed his coat and shovel, and stepped into the cold. The streets were empty, lamps shuddering in the wind. He followed the road east, up past the church. The graveyard gate creaked when he touched it. Lantern light flickered from behind the fence. Clara again, alone. She startled when she saw him. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "Neither should you. You'll get yourself in trouble." "Wouldn't be the first time." She hesitated, then held up her lantern. "Why the shovel?" "Habit. You dig for money or truth, whichever pays. She studied him, then turned toward the graves. My father says some ground shouldn't be disturbed. He say why? He says peace costs blood. He ain't wrong, Dust said. Question is whose? She looked down. You sound like a man who's buried more than strangers. Maybe's not an answer. It's the only one that fits most days. Thunder rolled again, closer now. She drew her coat tight. You think I don't know what's wrong here? You tell me. I remember when there were 3 graves on this hill. Now there are 20. Fever don't move that quick. No, she said quietly. It doesn't. Then what does? She looked toward the ridge beyond town where the wind bent the grass flat. There used to be a camp out there. Men came to work the mine. Some didn't come back. You dig there. No one does. Then maybe that's where we start. She hesitated, then nodded once. If my father finds out, he already knows enough, Dust said. That's why he don't want you looking. They left the churchyard, riding the narrow trail that climbed east. The storm muttered in the distance, lightning flickering low under the clouds. The ridge road twisted through brush and dry stone. Neither spoke much. The wind filled the silence with questions neither wanted to ask. After a while she said, Why do they call you Dust? 'Cause that's all that follows me. You ever stop running? Stopped once, he said. Didn't like what caught up. And now I dig. The ridge leveled into a hollow where the ground looked wrong, uneven, slumped in patches. Clara dismounted, lantern light trembling. Here, she said, this is where the miners camped. Dust stepped off his horse, drove the shovel into the dirt. It sank too easy. He dug slow, steady, the rhythm like heartbeat against thunder. After a few inches, the soil changed darker, heavy. The smell rose sharp, rust and rot. He cleared more till the shovel struck wood. A board, beneath it something chained. Clara knelt, hands shaking as she brushed the dirt aside. Metal links, bones tangled within, wrists still bound. She caught her breath. They weren't buried, she said. They were hidden. He nodded, jaw tight. Looks like they mined more than ore. She lifted one of the broken boards, found a mark burned into it, the same seal carved on her father's Bible. Her voice was barely a whisper. Dear God, you found him, Dust said. Now what do you plan to do with him? She stared at the bones, eyes bright with tears she refused to let fall. They built this town on the backs of slaves, she said. My father blessed the gold that bought their silence. You sure you want to dig deeper? Truth's already out, she said. Might as well give it a name. Lightning flared, throwing the bones white against the earth. The wind howled up the ridge, carrying the smell of rain and judgment. Then from the valley below, the church bell began to toll. No hands on its rope, no soul inside to pull it. Each strike rolled up through the ground, heavy as reckoning. Dust looked toward the sound, then back at her. That bell's callin' something, he said, and it ain't Sunday. The bell was still ringing when Dust looked up from the pit. The sound rolled slow across the ridge, deep and hollow, like the earth itself was mourning. Rain came soft at first, tapping the boards, sliding down the shovel handle, darkening the soil that held the bones. Clara knelt beside the hole, face pale but eyes steady. Her hands were covered in dirt, trembling only once before she clasped them together tight. They chained them like animals, she said, then buried them where no one would look. Dust pushed his hat back, watching the horizon. The rain made ghosts of the hills. Town that builds on bones don't stay quiet forever, he said. Best we cover it before someone sees. She turned to him, jaw set. Cover it? You want your father's men finding us here? You'll end up in that hole too. Then let them, she said. This is truth. It's got to stand. Truth don't stand on its own, he said. It gets shot down same as any man who carries it too loud. She shook her head. You've buried truth before, haven't you? He hesitated, shovel still in hand. Once, he said. Worked a job in Colorado. Company paid us to move ore. Turned out it was men's bodies from a cave-in they caused. We buried 'em clean, called it mercy. Walked away with blood in our pockets and no one the wiser. Town still sits on their graves. And you sleep after that? No, he said. That's why I keep moving. The rain thickened, whisper turning to steady hiss. The pit filled shallow with water rippling against the chains. Clara stood. We're not covering it. Then what? We ride to town. The sheriff, he answers to your father, Dust said. Everyone does. She looked back toward the dim church steeple, light flickering faint through rain. Then I'll confront him myself. He'll call you mad, or worse. Let him, she said. He's preached judgment long enough. Maybe it's time he met his own. Thunder cracked low, crawling through the ground. Dust stared at her a long moment, then drove the shovel into the mud, leaving it standing. You want to die for this, that's your choice, he said. But if you're riding back, you won't ride alone. They mounted up, horses uneasy in the storm. Lightning strobed the ridge, showing the pit behind them one last time, chains glinting like silver snakes under the rain. The ride down was slow, the trail slick and narrow. Lantern light from the town blurred through the mist, each flash of lightning showing it closer, sharper. Halfway down, Clara reined in. Look, she said. Through the curtain of rain near the churchyard, figures moved, 3, maybe 4, carrying lamps that bobbed like will-o'-the-wisps in fog. Dust squinted. Men from town. Maybe miners. Maybe your father's flock. They're headed for the ridge, she said, to bury it again. Then we move faster. She turned her horse hard downslope. Wait, he hissed. They'll see you. They can't take it all, she said. I need proof. Proof don't mean much if you're dead. You said truth gets shot down. Then maybe it needs someone willing to take the bullet. She spurred forward before he could stop her, the lantern at her saddle swinging wild in the rain. Dust cursed followed. They reached the base of the ridge as the men climbed up, their lights vanishing into the storm. Clara dismounted, running to where they'd first found the pit. The rain had turned it to a slurry of mud and water, washing the topsoil thin. She knelt and reached for the broken board, the one with the burned seal half buried now. Mud clung to her hands, but she wrenched it free. Got it, she whispered. Then torchlight flashed on the hill above, too close. Dusk grabbed her arm and pulled her down behind a rock. Voices drifted over the rain. He said they was diggin' here. You sure it's them? Preacher says so. Clara's breath came fast. He could feel her shaking. He leaned close. We stay low till they're gone. They'll fill it back in. We already got what we came for. The men reached the pit. One swore. Damn ground's near washed out. Just cover it, another said. Preacher wants it done before dawn. They shoveled quick, the sound harsh under the rain. When it was done, they turned back toward the church. Dust waited till their lamps were only pinpricks in the mist, then nodded. We move. They led their horses along the creek, keeping to shadow. The church stood like a ghost above them, its windows dim except for one faint glow, the basement. Clara pointed. That light's from the record room. My father keeps everything there. You sure you want to go in? If we don't, everything we found dies again. Then make it quick. She slipped through the back door, Dust close behind. The church smelled of wet wood and candle smoke. Floorboards creaked under their boots. The light came from a single lantern set on a table below the stairs, casting long shadows across shelves of books and ledgers. Clara lifted one, fingers trembling. This ledger, she whispered. It lists names, miners, debts paid, but these numbers, she flipped a page, voice catching. They paid for them, sold their lives when the mine collapsed. Dust leaned over her shoulder. Town's gold came from blood money, and the church blessed it. She looked at the page again, then closed the book like she was sealing a coffin. We have to get this out. And go where? Anywhere that still listens. Ain't many places left, he said. She met his eyes. Then we'll make one. They turned toward the stairs. The lantern flickered, guttered, then went out. The darkness came heavy, thick with breath. Dust froze. Someone's here, he said low. She reached for the board with the seal, holding it close. The faintest sound, water dripping, boots shifting on wood. Then the whisper of a match striking. Light flared behind them, quick and yellow. A shape stood near the door, half-lit, hat brim low, coat dripping, a pistol in his hand. The firelight caught metal just long enough to see it wasn't polished law, just hired fear. "Drop it," the man said. His voice was rough, edged by rain and whiskey. "Preacher wants words with you too." Dust raised his hand slow. "That's so. He says you've been diggin' where you shouldn't. We all end up diggin' there sooner or later." The man cocked the hammer. "Now," Clara's eyes darted toward the back door, but Dust shook his head. The rain outside hit the windows harder, drowning everything else. Then another sound cut through it, hooves, quick and close, splashing mud. "More coming." "You got friends?" the man asked. Dust smiled faintly. "Depends what you call friends." The thunder rolled, shaking the roof. In that single crack of light, the man flinched enough for Dust to move, knocking the lantern aside. It crashed, flame dying under the floodwater that leaked through the floor. Darkness swallowed them again. The man cursed, stumbled. Boots scrambled, the sound of rain swallowing the rest. Dust grabbed Clara's arm, pulling her through the side door. They burst into the storm, mud splashing up their legs. Behind them, shouts rose, more than one voice now, closing fast. They ran for the alley, the church bell starting again without a hand to pull it, tolling slow, relentless, echoing through rain that came harder, washing nothing clean. Rain hammered the rooftops as Dust and Clara tore through the back streets, horses slick with mud and panic. The ledger was pressed tight against Clara's chest, her coat soaked, her hair plastered to her face. Dust rode beside her, one hand on the reins, the other gripping the revolver that hadn't left his holster since the bell began to toll. Behind them came shouts, men with lamps, rifles, the echo of righteous fury turned hunt. The church bell kept tolling through it all, wild and wrong, clanging like judgment that wouldn't stop. Gunfire cracked, splintering the dark. Dust leaned low over his horse's neck. "Keep your head down," he yelled. A bullet whined past, kicking dirt into his face. Clara didn't scream, she just held on tighter, eyes fixed ahead. They broke out onto the north road, where the storm swallowed them whole. The sound of pursuit dulled under thunder. Lightning flashed, and for a moment the whole valley lit up, the steeple, the graves, the ridge that had given up its dead. "Where?" she shouted over the rain. "Old Mine Road," Dust said. "They won't follow that far." "Why not?" "'Cause it's cursed," he said, "like everything built on this land." The road turned to mud and stone, the horses fighting for footing. The storm pressed in, blinding. Clara coughed, cold breath sharp in her lungs. "You've been here before," she said. "Long time ago," Dust answered. "Wasn't worth comin' back." They found an old storehouse half collapsed into the hillside, roof sagging, walls bowed. Dust dismounted, helped Clara down. The horses snorted steam, stamping restlessly. He led them under the overhang, then dragged a broken crate to wedge the door. Inside was dark, thick with the smell of rot and iron. Water dripped through a hole in the ceiling, steady as a heartbeat. Clara set the lantern from her saddlebag, flame trembling. The light found old tools, a rusted wheelbarrow, half a mine cart, relics of the work that had built the town's fortune and buried its soul. Dust leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Blood seeped through his sleeve. Clara saw it and knelt beside him. "You're hit, just a graze. You always lie this calm. Only when it's true." She tore a strip from her shawl and wrapped his arm tight. "You're lucky," she said. "Luck's just another word for someone else's loss." She looked up at him. "You really believe that? After tonight?" He gave a dry laugh. "Yeah, you can't bury everything wrong in this world," she said. "You've been trying long enough. And what's it got me? A chance to dig the right grave this time." The words caught him off guard. He stared at her, seeing not the preacher's daughter but a woman carved by stormlight, unshaken in the face of ruin. You talk like you're sure truth's worth dying for, he said. I am, she said. 'Cause if it isn't, then what else is left? He looked away, jaw tight. You want confession? I got one. She waited. In Colorado, I told you part of it, he said. The company wasn't the only one burying men. I was the one holding the shovel, took pay from both sides. Thought I was doing right till I saw what it bought, graves stacked like cordwood. When it came down to speak or stay quiet, I kept my mouth shut. Buried 'em twice that night, once in dirt, once in silence. Clara said nothing. Rain filled the space between them. So now you see, he said, ain't redemption. Just a man too tired to keep running from the same hole. She reached for the ledger, laid it on the crate between them. Then let's dig together, she said. Truth's only dead if we leave it in the ground. He nodded slow. Outside, thunder moved off toward the horizon, but the rain kept falling. Faintly, the bell still rang, distant but steady, like a heartbeat that refused to die. They sat in silence a long while. Then came another sound, voices faint through the storm, echoing up the valley. Dust pushed to his feet, limping to the door crack. The wind carried words, twisted by rain but clear enough to chill. Hunt the sinners, bring them to judgment, the preacher says. He shut his eyes. He's turned the town loose, he said. They'll follow till morning. Clara rose, clutching the ledger. Then we ride before they light torches. And go where? The next town, she said. There's a marshal there, a telegraph. The world needs to see what they built their prayers on. You trust law after what we've seen. I trust the truth more than fear. He gave her a look that almost smiled. You keep talking like that, you'll end up hanging next to me. Then I'll hang honest, she said. He almost laughed. You really are your father's child. Not anymore, she said. The rain began to ease, each drop slower, heavier, as though the storm was tiring. They stepped outside into the gray light. The road was half river, half mud, and the sky pale with dawn hidden behind clouds. Dust helped her into the saddle. He mounted after, wincing at the pull in his arm. They rode slow, keeping low between the hills. Behind them, faint against the quiet, the church bell gave one last toll, then stopped. The silence that followed was worse. You think he knows we took it? Clara asked. He'll know, Dust said. He's got eyes everywhere. Then he'll follow. Let him, Dust said. Man like that can't stand silence. He'll have to fill it. They rode on. The valley opened ahead, wide and wet, dotted with the ghosts of fences long rotted. Their horses' hooves squelched in the mud, rhythm steady, tired. Then from the ridge behind, a flicker of light, one, then three, then a dozen. Torches. Moving slow, deliberate. They're coming, Clara whispered. Dust looked back. The torches bobbed like fireflies, growing brighter against the dark ridge. The rain slowed to a mist, catching the light so it looked like sparks falling from heaven. We'll need to keep ahead till morning, he said. You think we can? Don't have to, he said. Just have to stay alive long enough to make 'em listen. They rode on until the torches blurred into distance. The wind shifted, bringing the smell of smoke. Somewhere behind them, the preacher's men were burning the ridge clean, hiding the bones again under flame and ash. Dust felt it deep, that same old ache of sin dressed up as salvation. He looked over at Clara. Her eyes were fixed ahead, jaw set. She carried the ledger like a weapon. You still think truth's worth dying for? He asked. More than ever, she said. He nodded. Then let's make sure it don't die easy. The rain had slowed, but the fire on the ridge said the storm wasn't done. Morning broke slow over the plains, pale light bleeding through mist. The rain had stopped, leaving steam rising off the mud like ghosts too stubborn to leave. Dust and Clara rode through it quiet, their horses tired, their clothes stiff with dried rain and smoke. The ridge behind them still glowed faint red, where the preacher's men had burned it through the night. Smoke drifted low, curling along the valley like sin that wouldn't lift. For the first time in hours, the wind carried no bell, only the hush of a world pretending peace. Clara glanced over her shoulder. You think they've stopped following? Dust shook his head. Men like that don't stop till they've run out of breath or bullets. She adjusted the ledger tide in her satchel. Then we keep ridden. He nodded, but his gaze stayed far off, following the river's shimmer as it wound ahead. Marshall's 2 days east, he said. If the horses hold, we might see dawn there. You sound almost hopeful. Don't get used to it. She smiled faintly. I wouldn't. For a moment it almost felt easy, wind clean, sky opening. The weight of the storm lifted from their shoulders. Dust even caught himself thinking maybe this was the ride out, the one where the past stayed behind. Then the smell hit him, wood smoke and oil. He reined up hard. Stop! Clara followed his gaze down the slope. The river cut across the plain, slow and brown from the storm. A wooden bridge stretched over it, but smoke drifted from its far side, thin and steady. Torches, he muttered. They're waitin'. Clara's voice tightened. How many? Can't tell, he said. Enough. She reached for the rifle slung at her saddle. We can take the river. Too deep, too strong after the rain. They'll pin us in the current. Then what? We cross fast and loud. He looked at her, eyes steady. You ride hard, don't stop for me. Not again, she said. We ride together. He almost argued, but something in her tone cut him short. All right, he said, together. They moved toward the crossing slow, pretending calm. Then the shout came, there. Rifles cracked, bullets tearing through the air like bees. Dust's horse screamed and reared, throwing mud high. He fired back, short bursts, the sound swallowed by the roar of the river. Clara spurred her horse, shooting once into the air, not to hit, just to draw fire. It worked. Dust used the moment to kick through the shallows, water splashing over his boots. A round hit his shoulder, not a graze this time, deep enough to send heat and pain down his arm. He gritted his teeth, kept moving. Go, he yelled. Clara turned, eyes wide. You're hit. Ain't dead yet. She fired again, this time low. A man cried out on the far bank, dropping his rifle. She didn't look away, just kept her horse moving, face pale but set. Dust made the far side, half slid from his saddle, landing hard. The world spun, then steadied. He pressed a hand to his wound, wet and warm. Blood. Clara was beside him in seconds, dragging him behind a fallen beam. You can't move like this, she said. Wasn't planning to. He chambered another round. Where's your father? He'll come. She looked across the bridge. Shapes moved through smoke, 6, maybe 7 men. One walked slower, straighter. The Reverend Reeves. He stepped into daylight, black coat clean, boots spotless despite the mud. His eyes found them through the smoke. Clara, he called. His voice was calm, soft as a sermon. Come out. There's no need for this blasphemy. She rose halfway, rifle shaking. You call this blasphemy. Those men you buried, you chained them. Sinners, he said, thieves. Their deaths built salvation for others. Their deaths built this town's gold. Gold faith, what's the difference? The difference is blood, Father. He smiled, slow and sorrowful. You've let this drifter poison your heart. He showed me what you buried. Then you've dug your own grave. He motioned to his men. Bring them back. The town deserves its spectacle. Dust fired before they moved. One man fell, the rest scattered. Reeves didn't flinch. Still hiding behind sin, I see, he said. Dust reloaded, breathing hard. Man like you don't hide his sins, he said. He hangs 'em like trophies. Reeves' voice hardened. You think you know what's righteous. You wander with blood on your hands. You kill without prayer. Maybe, Dust said, but I don't sell forgiveness after. The Reverend stepped closer, each word cutting the air. You think this ledger changes anything. People believe what keeps them warm. You take that away, they'll freeze before they thank you. Clara lifted her rifle. Then let them freeze honest. He turned to her, almost gentle. You'd shoot your own father. Not my father, she said. Not anymore. For a heartbeat, no one moved. The river hissed below. A bird called somewhere far off. Then the Reverend smiled like a man at peace. So be it, he said. He drew his pistol with a speed that belonged more to war than faith. The report cracked the air, echoing off the river. Clara flinched, but Dust had already moved, shoving her down, taking the bullet in the side. His return shot came instinct, one clean pull. Reeves staggered, a bloom of red spreading under his collar. He stared at it like he'd never believed blood could come from him. His gun dropped. He went to his knees, hands pressing useless against the wound. "You think this saves you," he whispered. "It saves her," Dust said. Reeves tried to speak again, but the words failed. He toppled sideways, face turned toward the rising sun. The wind caught his coat, lifting it like wings. Silence followed, deep, strange, holy. Clara crawled to Dust, grabbing his shoulder. "Stay with me." He smiled weak. "You're getting good at defying the Lord. I learned from the best." He coughed, spat blood. "Ain't over yet." She pressed her hand over his wound. "Then don't you dare quit now." Behind them, the Reverend's men broke. Some ran. Others threw down rifles. The bell rang once, faint and distant, the last toll. Clara looked at the river, the sunlight turning it to glass. The current tugged at the dead man's coat, pulling him toward the water. She watched him drift until he vanished under the bridge. Dust closed his eyes. "You should go," he murmured. "Take the ledger, make it matter. Not without you. You ain't got a choice, neither do you." He gave a rough laugh, half breath, half grit. "You always talk this stubborn. Only when I'm right." The wind rose again, cool and clean. The smoke from the burning ridge had reached the river now, curling around them like memory. Clara tightened the bandage, her hands shaking but steady. "We'll get you help," she said. "You'll see the marshal. You'll see justice done." "Justice," he whispered. "Just another word for truth after it's buried. Then we'll dig it up again." The river carried ash downstream, black streaks spreading into gold light. Dust watched it with tired eyes, his breath shallow. The ledger lay open beside them, pages wet, ink running, but the seal still visible. "Reckon that's proof enough," he said. "Proof's for law," Clara said. "Faith's for the rest of us." She looked toward the ridge where the flames were dying slow. "The town will know now. And what'll they do? They'll bury him honest," she said. "That'll be a start." He nodded once, the ghost of a smile. "Start's good." The river carried the ashes downstream, but the truth stuck to the mud. Morning came soft over the river, light spilling slow across the water like it was afraid to wake what was left. The smoke had thinned, turning from black to gray, rising from the hills where the ridge still smoldered. The bell was quiet now, melted or fallen. Only the wind moved, carrying the faint scent of ash and iron and something cleaner underneath, like rain had washed a sin too long left to fester. Dust lay propped against a drift of sand, skin pale, shirt dark with dried blood. His breath came shallow, steady in rhythm with the slow lap of the river. Clara knelt beside him, her hands raw from trying to keep him warm, her eyes red from holding back what the morning would take anyway. The ledger lay open in the sun, pages warped, ink bled thin but not lost. Each name still readable, each line of false debt now a confession the whole world could see. She brushed her hand over the page, careful, reverent. "It's still here," she whispered. Dust smiled, the faint kind that doesn't reach the eyes but means something all the same. "Truth's stubborn that way," he said. "Don't wash easy. You'll be fine once we get help. Ain't a man alive that's fine after what I've done. You did right in the end. End's what worries me." She swallowed hard, holding his hand. "We're close to the road," she said. "Somebody'll come." He looked past her, toward the water, where the sun's reflection shimmered like a mirror cracked by wind. "Maybe," he said. "But if they don't start that. You got to take it, Clara." "Take what?" He lifted a trembling hand, gestured toward his hat lying in the mud beside the shovel still strapped to his saddle. "That," he said. "Carry it on. The truth, you dug it out, don't let it get buried again." She shook her head. "Not without you. You already got me," he said. Every name in that ledger's a shovel mark on my soul. You make 'em mean something. You'll see it yourself, she said. You'll see them face what they did. He gave a soft laugh, dry as dust. No, I won't, but you will, and that's better. The sound of wagon wheels drifted faint from the east. Travelers, maybe ranchers, maybe salvation. Clara looked up, saw two figures and a mule team cresting the rise. She waved, shouted, her voice hoarse but strong. They came fast, boots crunching on the river stones. One was a man in a wide coat, face lined from years on the trail. The other, a woman with a blanket and steady hands. What happened here? The man asked. Gunfight, Clara said. Town uprising. He's hurt bad. They knelt beside Dust, checked the wound, shared a look. He needs rest and clean dressing, the woman said. We can take him as far as Fort Barrett. Clara hesitated. And the ledger? The man frowned. What's that? Truth, she said. Dust's fingers squeezed hers weakly. Go, he said. You got miles to ride and a world that needs telling. Not alone. You'll never be alone. Not with that in your hand. The woman touched Clara's shoulder. We'll see he's tended. Clara looked between them, strangers drawn by mercy, the kind that don't ask for reward. She took Dust's hat, set it on her lap, then reached for his shovel, its handle worn smooth from years of burying more than bones. This belongs with you now, he murmured. You earned it. She nodded, tears finally breaking. Thank you. Don't thank me, he said. Just don't stop digging. She leaned close, kissed his forehead. You rest now. He smiled, eyes drifting shut as the river glinted brighter, gold and blue mingled like a promise. When she looked again, his chest still moved, slow, peaceful. Not gone, but already halfway across some quieter place. The travelers lifted him gentle into the wagon, wrapped him in a blanket. Clara mounted her horse, ledger tied firm against her saddle, the shovel strapped beside it. She rode east toward the sun. Behind her, the river bent south, carrying ash and fragments downstream, all the false prayers, all the whispered sins of Carson Ridge. Weeks later, word reached the next town, then the next. Clara Reeves rode straight into the marshal's office with mud on her boots and the ledger in her hands. She told it plain, no preacher's polish, no drift of shame. The names of the dead were printed, the crimes laid bare. The papers called it the Carson Ridge Redemption. But in her own words, it was just the truth finally catching up. The town buried its dead proper that spring. Fresh markers stood by the ridge where the old graves once lay hidden, each carved with nothing fancy, just a name, and a line from her choosing. The earth remembers. The church never reopened. The bell was melted down, forged into nails used to seal the doors shut. Some said that was blasphemy. Others called it mercy. Clara stayed long enough to see it done, then left before the sermon started again. She rode west one morning with the ledger's last page torn free, Dust's handwriting scrawled across it. Just 4 words, truth don't stay buried. Years passed. The town rebuilt, slower, humbler. Travelers came and went, never knowing what bones lay under the fields they crossed. But every spring, when the thaw came, the river rose high and clear, and bits of iron and chain washed loose again, reminders the earth never forgets. Some nights, if the wind came just right, the folks swore they could hear a bell not tolling but humming low, like forgiveness. Clara never went back. She found work teaching in a new town, kept the ledger locked away. Sometimes she'd take out the shovel and set it by her porch, handle catching the light of dusk, as if waiting. She'd tell the children stories, not about gold or gunmen, but about how a town once buried its truth and the two who dug it up. She always ended the same way, looking toward the horizon, voice soft but sure. Some truths don't need to be dug up again, she'd say. They just need to be remembered. You've been riding with old Western stories. If the tale hit your mark, give it a like, drop a comment about your favorite part, and ring that bell so you don't miss the next trail we ride. Don't forget, hit that subscribe so you're always in the saddle. and you'll always be ready when the next story rides in.